My name's Daryl Prail. I'm with a company called VanillaSoft, and I'm actually really excited to give today's presentation. I've given it a few times before, but I'll be candid with you. VanillaSoft, let's get the requisite pitch out of the way. It's a sales engagement platform. We sell our products to sales organizations, primarily inside sales development reps. So in the nature of my job, I'm used to always selling to salespeople. It's what I do, right? That's the people who often use this. Even though we all know as marketers, we're the ones who actually pick the tech and own and have the budget and pay for a lot of the stuff on a fairly regular basis. So it's nice for me to come in a room full of marketers and just kind of, this is a little cathartic for me. I get to share some of my frustrations and you guys get to smile and nod your heads and hopefully share this pain with me. So I've given this presentation in as little as 15 minutes when I don't take a breath. I have 40 minutes today, so I'm going to take my time. That's permission for anybody at any time to jump in and ask a question. All right? I strongly encourage that. I want you to have fun. So first things first, I'm curious, just for context, how many people in the room are in a sales role? All right, we have a handful of people. It's okay, I don't pick on you that much, I promise you. It's going to be good. You're going to giggle with some of the things I say, and you're going to go, yeah, we do that. Everybody else is in marketing, is that right? All right, cool. How many people have been to this show before? Show of hands. All right, so most of us are all new, including myself. That's fantastic. All right, how many people picked this session, because there's a lot of sessions going on simultaneously, strictly because of the title? Yes. We're bonding. This is awesome. When I made this title up, I giggled. And I said, this is it, man. And my sales peers were like, I don't get it. And I know you don't get it. But as a marketing crew, this is what it's all about. So we're going to walk through a scenario. This is a case study. Unfortunately, my colleague, Rick Inderlot with Virtual Causeway, had to cancel. So I'm on my own today. So I'm going to do my best to represent Rick and his crew. I know his organization very well. So if you have any questions for me, ask me, and I'll answer anything I can for you. So with that, let's get the party started. So as I said, I'm Daryl Prail. One of the things I ask you to do, if you don't have a chance, is to follow me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty busy on LinkedIn. I post a lot. I'm a big believer in content, good content. We marketers are all about content, right? It's all about inbound, right? How many people here have posted videos before? I'm just curious. On LinkedIn. Of those who have posted, how many subtitle? All right, that's not bad. Everybody else, post videos on LinkedIn. It's awesome for your traction. It's awesome to develop a community. You're going to really get your message across that way. People like to skim. So please follow me on LinkedIn. If you're curious about VanillaSoft at any time, go there. We'll answer any questions. We're in the expo hall. You can come after us and check us out. All right, so Virtual Causeway. Virtual Causeway is a sales and marketing demand generation agency. So they've got about 40 people who all they do is work the phones and do email campaigns. They're partners with Salesforce. They are fully vetted in marketing certification processes like HubSpot, like Marketo, like Pardot. So they're the classic agency you would think of that you either may engage yourself, maybe some of you are with an agency, and the whole reason for living is to make leads. They sell their services to B2B vendors. So if you need leads, they're the guys that you're going to go to, and they're really good. I've worked with them multiple times over the years. They've got some marquee names. So they're based in Canada. They're based in, we call it Waterloo, Ontario, Canada, which is kind of like the Silicon Valley of Canada, if you will. And this is where all the big guys set up all their shops for tech. They don't set it up in necessarily Toronto, although they do in other cities. It is all in Waterloo. University of Waterloo is like MIT. So their names include SAP, BlackBerry, Wall Street Journal. It goes on. They're huge advocates of the Serious Decisions Demand Waterfall. Are you guys familiar with the Serious Decisions Demand Waterfall? The idea of a marketing qualified lead leads to a sales qualified lead, leads to an opportunity in the pipeline, which you chase, and either win or you lose. So they've been serious clients for over a decade. They go to all the shows. They go to Dreamforce every single year. So they're a big player. They're a big player with kind of a small town feel. So with that said, this is an interesting case study because the case study is about the problem they had. They're a sales and marketing agency and they themselves had a sales and marketing problem. So what I want you to take away from that is if they themselves do this for a living and you're struggling here a little bit, you have these dynamics, don't feel bad. We all are going to have some of the dynamics I talk about here. So what they had was they had some complaints about their sales, their business development team for their own in-house development efforts. All right? So tell me if any of you have ever heard this before or have ever uttered these words to your sales counterparts. What do you mean you haven't followed up on those leads yet? Yeah? Yeah? You heard that one? All right. I'm feeling good. You listening, Scott? It's not just me, man. It's not just me. All right? This one, I love this one. Those leads were definitely not crap. All right? All right? All right. We got that one. Okay. Stop asking me for more leads. Work the leads I gave you. Okay? Stop asking me to spend more money. Do you know how much money I'm spending on you already? Do you have any idea how much that Google AdWord costs? Do you have any idea how much my team is busting their hump to get you all this activity? Do you understand my world? Or this one, my personal favorite. Dude, you're killing my program ROI. All right, I got lots of smiles in the room. Show of hands. Has anybody never encountered or had these conversations with your sales counterparts ever? All right, so we're united. Marketers unite. This is the same problem that Virtual Causeway was going through. And the funny part about that is it's not just them. We all suffer it. So let me walk you through some stats that'll make you feel a little better. You feel a little less self-conscious. And there are a variety of stats out there like this, but you can check it out for yourself. You can go to HubSpot and see the same stats. They're great in doing that, other Marketing Sherpa, et cetera. 48% of new leads, stats say, are never contacted. All right, so you go and you make 100 leads. I'm just going to round. Of those 100 leads, 50 are never touched, call, email, social, once. Not even once. So you spend all that time and money doing that event, going to that trade show, doing that campaign. You're pretty excited. You generated 100 leads, 500 leads, whatever it might be you generated. All MQL as far as you're concerned. 50% gone, never even contacted. That's industry stats. Second is, if they do call them or they do email them, on average, there are less than, we're going to round again, to 2 call attempts. Now, I've seen stats as high as 4, depending on the study, but on average, most studies say 2. So the lead comes in, the average is a day and a half to 2.5 days when that lead comes in later. They finally reach out and pick up the phone or they send an email. They call them, a couple days later, they call them again, and they never, ever, ever contact them again. And then the last part there was what we call speed to lead. So question, curious, when it comes to speed to lead, so that definition means when a lead comes in, so you've probably got marketing automation or email or have you get forms on your site, people go fill that out, it comes in, and you deem it qualified for whatever reason, the right title, the right score, I don't care. It's MQL. And you fire it off to the CRM, to the sales guys to do it. What is the industry myth that you need to respond to when that lead comes in fresh from your website? Any guesses? 48 hours, okay. Any other guesses? 24. Any other guesses?
40 minutes.
40 minutes, is that what I heard? Okay. Any other guesses?
2 hours.
2 hours. All right. Before I give you the answer, how many people here in your organizations follow up within 1 day? Okay, keep your hands up. Within 4 hours. Within 2 hours. Within 1 hour. So we got roughly 1 or 2 hands in this room. Okay. So the myth has been 1 hour. You need to call in 1 hour, and the myth goes that if you do it, you're 10 times more likely to have a successful outcome. This is based on a study done in 2007 by a company called InsideSales.com. They interviewed 15,000 contacts, sales transactions that have taken place over a couple dozen companies. And they said from that sample size, 1 hour is the magic number. And that's what everybody tries to get. That's speed to lead. If you can do it fast, you're going to see those stats are wrong. But that's the myth. The average stat is that it's a day and a half to 2.5 days. And what you're going to see is that when Virtual Causeway investigated, they realized that their sales organization, like most of us here in this room, are guilty of the exact same thing. So that was what they came to realize. Now, I mentioned some of the industry stats. So we did an interesting study. I should say we didn't do the study. We gave our data to a university in Canada, the University of Ottawa, specifically their Telfer School of Management. So this is a peer-reviewed study. This is an academic study of 130 million sales transactions done over 45,000 companies. And we asked them to go and just say, here's the data, you guys study it, draw any conclusions you want to, and let us know. Let us publish the results because we want to be better in our sales and marketing efforts. And we've done this for the last couple of years. This data came out last year. So we can get you a copy of this if you want to see this study. It's pretty dynamic. Let's talk the first thing. We say engage fast. That's speed to lead myth. So I should go back. Inside sales didn't say within the first hour. Inside sales said within the first 5 minutes. Anybody here do it within 5 minutes? Within the first 5 minutes. So, but what they did agree with is that the 1 hour mark is critical. If you do it within 5 minutes, 10 times more likely, but the 1 hour point is critical. So this is hard to see at the back of the room. I'll paint a picture for you. 10 minutes, 15, 20, 25, 30 to 60. This is 24 hours. This is after 24 hours. And what you need to kind of know is this is when do I call and when do I call and what is the success outcome? What I mean a success outcome is something's happened that you've had the chance to get a positive move to a next step, right? The whole reason you do a phone call is so they'll say, yes, I'll talk to your account executive, or yes, I'll take a demo. You send an email, it's the exact same way. Sure, tell me more. It's a next step. And this said, if you call within 5 minutes, your chances of a positive next step is 7.1%. Whereas if you wait 30 minutes, it doubles to 14%. And if I carry on, if you wait an hour, you're at 11%. So 30 minutes is the sweet spot, according to the study, based on those 130 million sales transactions. If you wait more than 24 hours, you're down to 5%. So by just optimizing your speed to lead, your ability to respond, to have sales respond within 30 to 60 minutes, you make a dramatic impact of a successful next step. So if you're doing it more than a day now, let me make this real simple math for you. I'm going to round at 5% and at 15%. So you can triple your success if you do it within 30 minutes compared to what you're doing now. This is the first thing when Causeway was looking at their situation, they were looking at the data and how they compared. The second thing you recall the stat was 2 attempts. We make on average 2 attempts. So this is showing us by industry how many contact attempts you need to make to actually have a successful outcome. In other words, to connect with them. The secret number is around 6, between 6 and 7. That's your median, if you will. Now, it does depend on your industry. Take, for example, insurance at the top here. It's almost 18 attempts. People are hard to get a hold of in the insurance industry. They dog you. I don't know whether they avoid you because it's the insurance rep. Who knows? 18 attempts. So, but the magic number is around 6. 6 to 8, you want to really play it safe, attempts. So, your marketers, let's just equate this to something you can relate to. Branding. How many times do I need to see a logo or a catchphrase or a tagline before it sticks in my head? I heard numbers from 10, 12, 14, 8. Exactly. None of them are 2, right? None of them are 2. So, this is what they found out. They weren't making enough attempts. They weren't doing it fast enough. That's a problem. But they're not alone. Now, that didn't make them necessarily feel better. They felt less guilty, but they still knew that they were guilty because in their case, they're a little bit of, the cobbler's kid. Look at us. We're pretending to be experts. And we're selling our services as experts. And yet we're as guilty as anybody else. Now, Rick, their CEO, has given me permission to share this, and I applaud him for doing this because this could be kind of scary. Now, the next thing we need to go through is kind of how has the buying process changed today? Chances are this is not going to be new for you, but we need to acknowledge it. So how has it changed is that we know buyers self-educate before reaching out. So let me ask you guys this. Anybody in this room have influence or purchase authority in any decisions, any products, any services you make in your room? Anybody here? Hands up. So a fair amount. We'll say half of you at least. All right. When do you actually finally allow yourself to talk to a sales rep when you're in that purchase cycle? Do you do it at the very beginning? I got a smile. I know that smile. Do you wait till you've almost figured it out yourself and then you finally call, which is maybe to make sure your facts that you've researched are accurate and the pricing's the way you understand it? Is that kind of how it works? All right. So buyers self-educate. Now, when they do reach out, let me ask you this. When you've said, okay, I'm going to call because I'm now in a buying decision, and you ping them. You submit a form. You send an email. You call them. You ping them on social. I don't care. If they don't respond to you within 24 hours, are you a little pissed off? Yeah, I am. But we ourselves aren't responding within 24 hours, are we? A little bit of self-awareness. So buyers expect instant gratification, and if you don't get it, then what do? If you're like me, you go right over to social. I can't believe vendor ABC hasn't taken me. They suck, right? So now we're seeing in the buying process that these behaviors influence the outcome, social media. That's why you're seeing things like live chat be so big now. Live chat, no longer phone or email, it's live chat. I can talk to them right now. And this is huge social proof. When you're in that buying cycle, how many of you go to a G2 Crowd or a Capterra or Google Reviews to check it out? We got nodding heads, yep. All right, in this room, doors closed. How many of you are consciously working to grow your own reviews? That's actually really good. It's more than I expected. We'll say about a third of you, or at least a third of you that I'll admit. So that's cool. So social proof influences all of us. It's not just on a G2 or a Capterra. It's discussion forums, it's Reddit, it's Twitter, it's whatever. So that affects everything. So we sat back and we said, so was the sales team at fault? Because right now it sounds like a little bit the sales team is at fault. And this is where it gets really interesting. What they started to realize was the sales team was partly at fault, but part of it was actually their systems. So let me ask the question here. We're talking about systems. Most of you don't respond within a day. Is everybody got we'll throw that, marketing, who doesn't have marketing automation? Okay, so we're all using automation already. So we have systems. So why are we not responding? Is it getting through the system fast enough? This is what they figured out. You're gonna love this one. They use Salesforce. They use Salesforce and they use Pardot for their automation. And so the automation piece was getting that lead. And it was flipping it over to Salesforce. That part was working tickety-boo. Yes, the sales reps were taking some time to get there. They're not doing it in an hour, except they want to make 2 call attempts. Why? Why are they only making 2 call attempts? And they started to figure out it was this list-based approach of CRM. So let me explain. Anybody here familiar with Salesforce as an example? All right, most of you? Okay. So when you log in, what do you see? You see a list. These are your to-dos. You have to call, you have to email, you have to draft something, you have to talk to somebody. It's your list. Sales are the same way. I'll give you an example of a list. Sales logs in, they see a view, Salesforce view. It's prioritized, sorted by whatever criteria they want. Perhaps highest score, highest MQL score. And they see at the top of the list, Joe's Garage. And number 2, they see IBM. And number 3, they see ABC Manufacturing. It's a list, and a list means the rep has to manually take their mouse, hover over the one record they want to do next, the activity they want to do next, click to get the details, the number, the email, to do what they want to do. Who does the rep call first 9 times out of 10? IBM. We didn't have to think about it, did we? But what did the list say? The list said Joe's Garage, but they call IBM. Now, the reason they call IBM is because they're financially incented to hit their quota. We can't fault them. We caused this situation. They're going to do it. The reps cherry pick. What I love about this is that I didn't have to, convince you. You finished my sentence for me. So they call IBM. They call, no answer, leave a voicemail, click. What does the rep do then? You're in Salesforce. They log a call, that's right. And then they make another task to do something next, right? And the rep has what? They have the complete control and autonomy to say when they will send an email, or make another call. A day, a week, it's up to the rep. That's important. What happens to Joe's Garage that was number 1? Joe's Garage eventually falls off the list because the name Joe's Garage just doesn't sound like they got money. If they do, it's small. They do everything else but call Joe's Garage. That's why 48% of leads are never getting called, because they didn't like Joe's Garage. The other part is when the rep had to log the call and make their next task, we put the power in the rep's hand to figure out when was the right time to do that. And even if he did it or she did it right, I'm going to call them tomorrow, 24 hours later. What happens tomorrow? Suddenly Microsoft appears in the list, and I'm not going to call IBM, because that's the way it works. And that's why there's only 2 call attempts. We started working backwards with Causeway, and they started to realize the list-based approach, where they cherry-picked, we let the rep take the initiative to create that next step, was what was killing them. So they started to clue in. What they needed to do was they needed to completely eliminate this. They needed to make sure the reps couldn't control this. The marketers needed to take control of sales, because we've spent the money to make the lead, and damn it, we want you to call the lead. So they wanted to do this, they decided to remove the SQL stage from the CRM. So if that doesn't make sense, it's like this. When we get marketing qualified, we pass it off to the rep who lives in CRM, and these behaviors happen because it's lists. So if we take it out of the CRM, we take it away from the list-based construct. So by doing that, they introduce a new component in their stack called sales engagement. And that's how it all starts to come together. So let's explore what that means. Sales engagement, I love this one. This is my actual CEO came up with this. He at least he claims he did. I don't know. Beers were involved. He says CRM is designed for managing relationships, customer relationship management. Sales engagement is designed for starting them, which is true, right? You make a lead, you give it to them. They're now engaging with them. They're trying to contact them, connect with them, build a relationship. They're trying to start it. This is about using the right tool for the job. So remember, a couple years ago, marketing automation didn't exist. And then there was a need for it because we realized CRM wasn't cutting it and email wasn't cutting it. So you used the right tool for the job, and we re-architected the stack. Well, now they're doing it again. And basically think of this as the system of record for inside sales. And this is how it looks. And I love this chart. This is your marketing team. This is your sales development team or your inside sales team. And these are the account execs. So the classic model is we make the MQL. We pass it to the sales development team, the inside sales team. They qualify them. Do you have budget? Do you have authority? Do you have need? Do you have timing? If I have all that, you're now sales qualified. And now I flip it to the account exec who works in the CRM system and adds it to the forecast and works the opportunity. And this is actually when the sales part starts. So this is the new stack: marketing automation, sales engagement, CRM. What I love about this on the demand waterfall aspect of Sirius, MQL and SQL is all around qualification, because the sales doesn't start down here. No one's selling here. They're just saying, do you have budget? Can I get a hold of you? Can I tease you a little bit? Because there was an expression of interest up here. So all of this now gets separated from the CRM. That's important. Now, how does this work? Let's go here. Done right, sales engagement takes a different approach than a list, and they do that on purpose. They have this construct of a queue. Anybody ever queue up to get your fast food? All right, you do? Anybody ever queue up to go to the movies? You see where I'm going? This is a line, right? A queue is a line. So what happens is when you prioritize the line, the cashier who's taking your order, they don't necessarily know who's behind the person I'm talking to right now. This person's at my cashier ordering their Big Mac, whatever it is they're doing, and I have no construct, no concept of the person behind them. I'm in this order here. Said another way, they're talking to Joe's Garage. They don't know about IBM. They don't see IBM. A queue, no lists. When the SDR logs in, so say marketing made the MQL, marketing implemented the sales engagement system so that when it's passed off The queue dynamically reprioritizes continually based on whatever buying signals are happening, such as a new lead from the web. Brand new lead from the web, you jump to the front of the queue. No list. When the rep logs in, they don't see a list. They're presented with Joe's Garage. This is all I see. I'm supposed to do something with Joe's Garage right now. And often the system will recommend. You should email them. You should call them because the queue has built in the cadence. So remember, we talked about the rep logging their call and then having to make another one. We're like, well, how do you know what the right time is to do it? Well, this is what the cadence is. You've often heard this called a playbook or a sequence. It's the right touch. It's multi-touch. I'm going to touch them on phone, on email, social, like LinkedIn. I may do it in live chat because we want instant gratification. So the cadence says I may have to do, say, 7 touches in 7 days. That's the classic cadence we all maybe have read. That may be 2 touches in the first day, a phone call or an email. A touch in the second day, a phone call. Touch in the third day, another social outreach. Touch in the fourth day, and so on. 7 times, 7 days. So in the queue, they see Joe's Garage. They call them. They leave a voicemail. They say, I left a voicemail. Boom, it's gone. And up comes IBM. What happened to Joe's Garage? I just said left the voicemail. It's gone. Well, it's going to come back 4 hours later because 7 touches in 7 days says you need to call, twice in the first day. So 4 hours later, Joe's Garage comes right back up again, continually. And that's how the queue works. It gets rid of the list entirely. The rep no longer can cherry pick. The rep can no longer just do 2 attempts to reach them. It has this concept of a result code. The result code can drive behaviors. So it could be I left a voicemail, oh, this behavior happens. Or I send an email, oh, that behavior happens. So that's dynamic. You can configure that. It's kind of cool, like triggers. This idea of built-in persistency says I'm going to call 18 times if I'm in insurance, 6.8 times if I'm in another industry. That's what that's going to make sure. So it's a combination of cadence and the right persistency and that speed delete. So it jumps to the front of the queue. So now, one of the big topics here anymore we marketers are hearing about are buyer intent. I'll give you an example of buyer intent and what we do at VanillaSoft. So we subscribe to G2 Crowd. We want to get our reviews up there. We want social proof like everybody else does. One of the things we get is we get buyer intent data from G2. So that means if anybody goes to G2's website and they're looking at the categories I'm in, or the categories my declared competitors are in, or any like similar categories, I get notified. Joe's Garage was at the sales engagement category, just poking around. That comes in to the queue. We go, they were just there. Push them to the top so we can start figuring out who Joe's Garage is, because we know they're doing research, because we all research, as we talked about before, until we talk to a rep. So it's a combination of MQL, SQL. What they've started to realize when they implemented this, so they realized their problem. They realized they weren't calling enough. They weren't calling fast enough. They weren't calling with the right cadence or persistency. They realized the root cause of this was their tech stack, which was lists. So when they got rid of the list, they forced the rep to call every single rep, every single contact, every single lead, every single MQL that every single person here makes. They forced them to do it with the right cadence, the right number of times, no chances to get distracted, took away the authority for them to log a call or make another one. It's just happening. They tripled their pipeline. And this is the stat normally. You triple your pipeline. So, and it's simple math. If I made 2 call attempts before, and now I'm making, say, 6 or 8, well, I'm tripling the number of attempts I'm making. And we know that's how many it takes. So why wouldn't I triple my pipeline? Now, that doesn't mean I'm going to triple the revenue, but I am tripling the SQLs that I turn in for my MQLs. Now, because there's a queue, their follow-up time is 15 minutes because it just jumps to the front. They themselves and the customers they serve, they're now reaching 12 outreach attempts. This part's interesting. These 2 actually you guys will like. The sales team is actually 50% more productive, which again makes sense because of just how much more activity they're doing. So from a pure cost of your actual spend you invest in sales to drive that up, which all comes back to your cost of customer acquisition, because they're 50% more productive, they didn't have to hire more reps, so they could actually take on more contracts and get higher margins and higher profits. So that was a nice perk. They didn't expect that. The other part was the lower cost per lead. This, as a marketer, you should be salivating over, because all of a sudden, again, think about it. If you make 100 leads and only 52 get contacted twice, 48 never get contacted, your cost per lead in the end, as far as contribution to the pipeline, is pretty high. I just cut it in half. They saw a 35% reduction. So, for Virtual Causeway, I love this one. Marketing held sales accountable. They held them accountable to when they were going to follow up on those MQLs within the hour, in this case 15 minutes for them. That wasn't the case before. They held them accountable to how many call attempts they were going to make just by adding the queue and getting rid of the list. So now they're averaging, what I say, 12 call attempts per. So again, it goes up dramatically. They held them accountable. Remember how we started off this conversation with all the laments and complaints we had about sales? To follow every single lead. Every single one. Joe's Garage no longer got skipped. They had them accountable to the right mix of channels. We haven't touched on this. How many people in your sales team hate the phone? I don't want to make a phone call. I will send emails. You want me another phone call? I'll do another email. Please call them. I'll send another email. Right? And email's good, but it's just one method. Social is important. It's just one method. But the phone, you got to talk to somebody eventually. Because you had the cadence built into the queue, they couldn't get around it because you can measure it. You can see what's going on. And best of all, they held them accountable for that marketing campaign ROI. And that was the day marketing held sales accountable. Yay? I see eye rolls. So, what do you want to know? Ask me hard questions, any questions. Yeah, you could have let me get a drink of water first. Come on, I'm giving you a hard time. Go ahead, what's up?
How can marketing convince sales to let marketing manage their queue? How do you convince sales to?
So I don't have a perfect answer. I have some answers. All right. So I literally just did a webinar, a debate actually, with my colleague at the back of the room that was moderated by a third party. It was called Who Owns the SDR Team? Marketing or Sales? Right now, 1 in 3 SDR teams are owned by marketing. 2 in 3 are not. It's a legitimate conversation to introduce to your organization because in the end, if you follow the serious demand waterfall, MQL, SQL, the key word there is Q for qualification. All right, sales doesn't start until it gets to the account executive. So why are we splitting up the qualification process at all? It makes no sense. That's the first part. So that's my way of saying you put it under the marketing umbrella, then it's a lot easier for marketing to hold sales accountable. That's the first part. And it's a great conversation to have. Actually, I'm going over to London shortly to have this exact same argument on stage with some social selling people. So it's going to be fun. The other one you can do is simply go make it a business case. So float the conversation and you can simply, and these numbers you can easily track yourselves, right? You can figure out yourself how many leads that you have provided, MQLs, a little bit of work, are actually getting contacted once. How many getting contacted twice, 3 times, 4 times? You can do the math and say, here's the stats. I'll send you the stats. And you can say, we're sucking here. We're not following fast enough. So why don't we, what everybody else is doing is they're pulling this out. There's third parties. You can go, if depending on your organization, Gartner, Forrester, Serious Decisions. We subscribe to many of these people. What we've heard from them over and over again, very interesting, is they've said the number one inquiry we still get to this day is on CRM. That's our number one inquiry across the board. The number 2 inquiry we get, which used to be marketing automation, is no longer marketing automation. The number 2 inquiry we get is sales engagement. So this is a hot trend. And it's a trend just like marketing automation was a couple years back for a reason. So I can't necessarily guarantee you're going to have a success, but there's a business case to be had there based on your own data and some serious ROI. What would it mean to us if they made 6, 8, 10, 12 call attempts? What would it mean to us if they did 7 touches in 7 days? What would it mean to us if they called within an hour? What would it mean to us if they had the right mix of channels? And that's the discussion you really need to have. It might take another year still, or a year and a half. It will happen regardless. So even if you float this idea and get shot down, this is a wave that's happening right now, and you're gonna look brilliant. In retrospect, they're gonna say, yeah, you were right. So.
You mentioned very quickly the CEO of that company.
Yep, Rick.
How active is the CEO in that decision process?
He's very active only because he's cheap. So he hates spending money on the stack, right? But it was his initiative because he's cheap, anything he could do to get more out of his staff was worthwhile. So he understood making a small investment to get a bigger ROI was big for him. So he was very involved in it. He didn't do the technical due diligence. He facilitated it. He had his champions, right? I don't think he saw the list thing coming. The opening symptoms we talked about, he could see it by walking the floor. He could see it. Like, why haven't you called? What's going on, guys? You know, or so-and-so bought. Weren't they a lead on us? How did we miss out on that deal? Right? So then he started feeling it out, but he didn't clue into the list thing.
I guess my point is that at that level, he's looking for a fair and objective assessment of
Yes.
what's wrong,
Yes.
how do we fix it, not any of the political ramifications.
Correct. That's it. You're right. You bring the discussion up to the people who care about, you know, just the financial consequences and the performance gains. You nailed it. Not the emotional. Because that's the thing. The guys who are CRM advocates in your company, if you have them, they're going to say, this is going to, number one response, CRM can do this. Let me do it. It can't because it's still list-based. It's just, and I'm not shooting down CRM. If they want to change their visual paradigm from a list to a queue, then yes, they can do it. But they're always going to be stuck with a list, and that's always going to allow reps to cherry pick. And that's just the way it is. Any other questions? Was this helpful? Yes.
My problem is the next step. It's from SQL to opportunity.
I hear your brother.
Yes, there.
Yep. Okay, so be more specific. What is they're not making the activities?
Just live in there forever. Like,
Yes.
It is a wasteland of potential.
A potential. They're MQL'd, there's SQL'd, and now they're sitting there and nothing's happening, right? Okay, so I do have one piece of advice that may not apply to your case. What we've seen a lot of our customers do, and I would qualify this carefully, I want to be full disclosure, they're usually the smaller customers, is they get rid of their CRM. Because they realize for closing the deal, sales engagement is great because the idea of the cadence just keeps on happening. If they're just sitting there, then the cadence keeps forcing them to act it, right? And so they get rid of the CRM altogether. And I should qualify that. They keep their CRM. They don't walk away from Salesforce. They just don't use the CRM to close the deal. They use the sales engagement to close the deal. Then they flip it over to the CRM for the customer onboarding experience and they leave the buyer process in sales engagement. Now, some have done that. That's one suggestion. It may not work for you, but that's what we've seen happen sometimes.
You can put like a alert that basically says after 60 days, there's a task created for them to either you work it or you don't.
Yeah.
Is what I've done.
But hold them accountable. That's the big thing. Hold them accountable. I got 2 minutes left, or I can kick you out.
What are some other sales engagement platforms?
Good question. Other sales engagement platforms would be, you may have heard of some of these people, SalesLoft, Outreach, InsideSales.com. Those are the ones that we often will compete with. They offer pros and cons. And I fully encourage you, and I'm a vendor here, but I'm also a CMO, do your due diligence. Find the product that's right for you. And if anybody wants to know how we compare and contrast, we can give you that answer. I'll give it to you at the booth. Any other questions?
You send out the deck to the attendees?
I don't control this. I hope we're sending the deck out. If not, we have scanned you. So I will make sure you get it one way. If they don't auto send it, I will use the list and send it. Again, if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can get anything you want to know from me to follow on. Please utilize me. I'm a resource. Thank you for your time today, folks. I had fun.